You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited you could join me here today for part 2 of our Cabral House Calls. Looking forward, as always, to being able to get into our community's questions. This week, no different. We have so many great questions coming in from literally all over the world. And that's the exciting thing about honestly running a virtual-based practice, is that I can speak with people in Australia and New Zealand and Europe and the US and Canada and the UK, and I can literally do it in one day. I can talk with people all different time zones throughout the day, and it's absolutely remarkable. I mean, this is really an amazing time to be a health practitioner, to be able to work with people all around the world and not have to be location-based specific. So exciting, because I'm about to hop on a plane and I wanted to record this podcast for you. And I'm able to do that anywhere in the world. And so, honestly, it's been an absolute blessing over this last couple years to be able to not feel as super stressed having to run enormous practices with a lot of overhead and all of those different things. And really, all I've ever wanted to do is be able to teach. I mean, I've always wanted just to be able to share my message. And really, before the last couple of years, being able to do video Skype-based consultations like really well and be able to drag documents and have the bandwidth to do that anywhere in the world and be able to ship labs anywhere in the world, it just wasn't a reality. And now that it is, for us to be able to ship labs to people all the way across the world in Australia, and have them take them in Australia, get them there in anywhere from 5 to 10 days, have them mail them back, have us get the results, then do a consultation over Skype. I mean, this goes for anywhere, right? But if it works there, it works anywhere, where we're looking at oftentimes, I don't even know what the time difference is, but quite some time, we'll put it that way. I'm usually doing my 4 o'clock appointment at somewhere around 6 a.m. there the next day. So just really excited for what I believe that even 2019 will bring us, even more innovation, I believe, inside of all the different types of technology and use that we're being able to. And this is something, of course, that I want to be able to teach other practitioners inside of the Integrative Health Practitioner Program. I don't want it to be all about me. I certainly don't. This is not my message. This is a message that is about health and healing, that everyone can use and everyone can teach. So that's my goal, is to create as many integrative health practitioners as possible, have them work with people locally if they choose to, or virtually anywhere in the world as well. So thank you all for helping me to spread the mission, to share this message with anyone whenever you find it helpful, and for you leaving reviews in iTunes. If you're able to leave a review even when you're listening to a podcast such as today's, and just go to iTunes, search Cabral Concept, and rate the show and leave a review, that would be absolutely tremendous. It does help us in the rankings, and the higher we do rank, the more people that kind of find out about us. So definitely appreciate that. Thank you once again, and let's get into the questions. Kelly's up first. She's writing in, "Dear Dr. Cabral, I love your podcast and appreciate it. Do you have any suggestions for ways to rebalance energy and neurotransmitters after discontinuing ADD medications? I've inattentive type ADD and have been on Adderall for the past 8 years. I got sick of the worsening depression, mood swings, and low energy, and read about long-term effects of medication and have since tapered off. I feel somewhat improved after starting on Wellbutrin and L-tyrosine in the AM, but would love to hear your thoughts. I don't want to be on antidepressant forever. Also, if you can recommend any books or other sources on neurotransmitters ADD, I'd appreciate them. I work in the ER and love reading research and learning. Thanks so much." Yeah, this is a really great question, and it's unfortunate because Adderall is handed out way too easily now by psychologists and MDs. The problem is this: it's essentially a methamphetamine. It honestly is. If you look at the chemistry, so you have a medical background, it looks like you work in the ER. Look at the actual chemistry, and you're tapered off anyways, but the truth is that a lot of parents don't understand this. It's essentially legalized speed. And that's what Adderall is. And it helps you study and helps you stay focused because it's literally like speed. Well, what happens though if you take it every day of your life? Don't you believe that a speed-like substance would eventually burn you out? That's my philosophy, and it certainly plays out in the labs. we see the higher levels of dopamine, but then the exhaustion, the inability to really produce norepinephrine and cortisol in the longer term, and the decrease in 5-HTP or serotonin. It only makes sense because when you push your body that hard, you're supposed to be able to keep up with it with norepinephrine from the HPA axis as well as cortisol. And the buffer to all of this is GABA and serotonin. Well, then what happens too is melatonin starts to falter because melatonin simply, I don't know, it's not precursor, is it a postcursor? It comes after serotonin. So, that's what we look at and we say, okay, well, what are the things that we need? L-tyrosine, you're definitely on the right track. Our product called Thyroid Support is absolutely tremendous at boosting those levels of dopamine naturally. There's actually a bunch of great products. Maca can help. L-tyrosine certainly helps with that. In terms of the Wellbutrin, you can't use them at the same time, but you can use a 5-HT-based substance if you chose to. Vitamin B6 works incredibly well, but again, you can't use them well on Wellbutrin because you could actually get serotonin overload. What you don't want to believe, it's not called serotonin overload, but it's an oversaturation of serotonin in the synaptic cleft, which is not what you want, of course. It's basically serotonin poisoning. So the Wellbutrin is not going to be obviously ideal in the longer run, but of course you use it when you need it and then hopefully do taper up. What else can I tell you? Phenylalanine, which is a precursor to a lot of the L-tyrosines and substances like that. We don't use phenylalanine in my practice. You will see some great research and evidence with it being used with allergies and low dopamine production, but again, we don't typically use that. The adrenal energy support can be incredibly helpful as well. Adrenal energy support, 2 capsules with breakfast, 2 capsules at lunch. Magnesium, typically later in the day, is even greater if you're someone that needs a little bit more magnesium. And then absolutely omega-3. So, if I could offer some advice, of course, I would love you to run the Dr. Cabral Big 5 to figure out what all of your imbalances are. The Dr. Cabral Big 5 is literally what we recommend to everyone in our private practice if they're able to do it. But you could have low levels of omega-3s, so either supplement with the omega-3 support, 2 capsules a day, 1 at lunch, 1 at dinner, or just 1 teaspoon a day of the liquid. You could absolutely use, of course, the daily nutritional support. Any of those things, the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol, to get your body full of the nutrients that it needs. I apologize that I'm not able to give you an exact protocol, of course, because we're just talking over podcast. You're not in the practice. I don't know the intricacies of what's going on with you. So these are just some recommendations of places to start. If you could run the Dr. Cabral Big 5, great. If not, at least maybe the omega-3, the thyroid adrenal hormone, and I would say the hair tissue mineral analysis would at least be a good 3 to start with. Kelly, hopefully that helps. Taro's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. In recent years, I've been learning a lot about holistic approaches to wellness. Since discovering your podcast a month ago, this journey has been expedited. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Tara, for writing that. Really appreciate it. Just want to give a moment, too. I really do enjoy people writing in and just saying that the podcast has helped and all of those things. It's, this is a podcast that I just do because I honestly, I feel like it's just part of my mission. That's it. And so you saying that it helps and you leaving reviews and all those things it means a lot to me. So just thank you. Thank you. Tara goes on to write, I'm in my 30s and since having my second child, I've struggled with bad acne. It seems to be hormonal as it increased with my menstrual cycle, which has become much heavier and painful. I tried many natural remedies with no success. Before going to the dermatologist, being prescribed birth control and a topical gel called Velton. I've been on it for 5 months and has worked very well in clearing my skin. However, I'd really like to stop taking these drugs if possible. Besides the acne, my other major disease is plantar fasciitis that won't go away after 7 months of resting, wrapping, icing, and stretching per my orthopedist recommendation. She wants to start cortisone shots next month, which I don't want. I like to stay fit and work out 5 to 6 days a week. I'm currently on day 5 of 7 of my Dr. Cabral detox. I would like to run some labs afterwards and determine the underlying problems, address them, maximize my health. What would you suggest? All right, big question. A lot of women, actually, this is not uncommon. They start to become a little bit more estrogen dominant oftentimes after pregnancy. They produce sometimes a little bit more hormone. Remember, your hormones were ramped up for pregnancy as well, so that's important to just kind of keep in mind and look at. And then there can be a dysregulation post-pregnancy as well. Sometimes there's more stress. Sometimes there's at least a drop in progesterone. My recommendation, without a doubt for you, is to run the thyroid adrenal hormone. If you never ran one other lab, I would run that. I would run the thyroid adrenal hormone. That's the main one. I mean, you could run others. You could run a hair tissue mineral analysis. I think it's always great for women post-pregnancy to run their organic acids test to check out all their vitamin levels. And I recommend they run a hair tissue mineral analysis to check out all their mineral levels. So vitamins on the organic acid test, minerals on the hair tissue mineral analysis, and then you can see if you become too depleted for that. So that I would recommend in the thyroid adrenal hormone. In terms of the plantar fasciitis, what I'm recommending is, so this is the hard part because I don't know how long you rested. Plantar fasciitis is an inflammation, essentially a tightening and inflammation of the plantar tendon in the bottom of the foot. Very, very painful, very painful. So the things that I've seen work the best is obviously laying off of it, wearing an air cast or a boot, keeping the foot actually with the toes pointed up towards the head, and wearing that boot or at least keeping it stretched while sleeping. A lot of people have to, this is a big tip, it might seem kind of silly, untuck the sheets on your bed. Untuck them so that the bottom, you can allow your foot to stay pointed up towards your head, not pointed down. When you're doing that, sometimes the toes curl down and it causes that tightness in the bottom of the foot. Other issues are this. When women are in any type of heels, and includes men as well, even dress shoes with a 1-inch heel, can cause a tightening of the calf muscles, the soleus muscles, and the plantar tendon. I recommend a zero pitch, such as just totally flat shoes, more like a loafer. I don't know the best way to say that, but basically the front of the sole is the same width as the back of the sole. There are zero pitch. The Vibram sneakers do that. The Vega sneakers, Earth shoes actually have a negative drop in the heel. What we need to do is really stretch out the soleus muscle, the back of the leg behind the anterior tibialis, right below the big part of the calf, which is called the gastrocnemius. And you want to also make sure that that plantar tendon in the bottom, that you are massaging it, that you are foam rolling it, using the ball works. I've spoken about this, obviously. You know what? Why don't you do this? Go to stephencabral.com/podcast and type in plantar fasciitis, and you'll actually see a podcast and all different tools to help roll that out as well. So that's what I recommend. Really, getting off it. Not forever, moving your foot into a elongated stretch position, and then you can take natural anti-inflammatories such as the omega-3 support, and check out my podcast on anti-inflammatory supplements, okay? And all recommendations can be found at stephencabral.com/podcast. Simply use the search box to search for things like plantar fasciitis. Okay, the next one's from Maxine, and Maxine is writing in, I've had a chronic cough for almost 5 years. Starts off as a dry cough and then get productive, and then I have to spit out phlegm. When I blow my nose in the morning, there's greenish color mucus. Any advice on how to cure it? I was told it was due to nerve and I should take Lyrica. I've seen an ear, nose, and throat pulmonologist and no relief. Okay, so we don't just always have to throw in that caveat. We're not diagnosing, treating, or what's the other one? Curing any disease. That's what we're not doing here. But we can help you with this. So we have a great protocol. None of our Equilibrium Nutrition formulated products in particular, but it's called an ear, nose, and throat-based protocol. And we're using a neti pot. We are using the grapefruit seed extract nasal spray by Nutribiotic, higher dosages of vitamin C, and we can also do things such as N-acetylcysteine. But honestly, the truth is this, is that we need to get you off of all the foods that you have a sensitivity to, and most likely figure out if there's any type of candida overgrowth, which, believe it or not, can be in the nasal passages as well. So what I would love you to do is to run an organic acids test, second a stool test, and number 3, a food sensitivity test, in that order. So if you can't afford all 3, then you'll do them in that order. Organic acids test, stool test, food sensitivity test, and that's what I'm recommending for you to look at why. Because obviously if you're seeing green mucus, well, there's some type of immune response to whatever bacteria is up there, okay, so that's very important that we clean it out, or some type of overgrowth, right? So your body's doing exactly what it should. I know that it's not a pleasant thing, but your body is ridding it of all of that, you see green mucus, of all of that bacteria from immune-based cells. So we don't want to stop that process. We actually just want to figure out why the bacteria, why the candida overgrowth, and then at the same time, we can begin to use a neti pot twice a day with some Nutribiotic GSE drops in there as well. So that's where to start, Maxine. Any questions, obviously, you can ask them inside at cabralsupportgroup.com, and that is what I'm recommending. Okay, so next up we have is Adrian. Adrian's asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm 32 years old, a personal trainer from Norway. I stumbled onto your website and listened to some of your podcasts and found out you are the guy I should talk to. I'm taking amoxicillin for 100 days for changes in my lower back. And let's see, my symptoms are muscle twitching, anxious, flat mood, cold fingers, internal rage. in my nervous system, extreme tiredness in the afternoon, full body stiffness and pain, especially in the morning. Can't find a pattern. Took some blood tests, but it came back normal. Please, Dr. Cabral, tell me where to start. My doctor is always without suggestions, and if there's an answer to my problems, I'd be happy to be myself around my little family again. Okay, I'm happy to help here. This is again, we're not diagnosing disease. This is a very common problem. Again, love antibiotics that they can be life-saving. We use antibiotics way too often in our society. Unless it's life-saving, please learn the natural health-based protocols, our children's protocol and our adult immune protocol. Please learn those protocols. They're absolutely free. They are just things that I use myself, that I've used in my practice, that I've developed really over the last 7 years. I would love for you to use them. They are, again, non-equilibrium nutrition formulated products because, as I've always said, if the product already exists, I do not want to have to make it. I really do not. I do not want to be in the nutritional supplement business. But I can tell you this, when a product doesn't exist and I needed to use it for myself, my family, and in my practice, that I'm going to make the product. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's how it works. And I hope that other people continue to make great functional medicine-based products, which there are. There are many. And that's why for our private wellness practice too, we offer hundreds of other products as well through another website. So what I can tell you is this. When a lot of people, I shouldn't say this, not everyone, but a lot of people, when they take antibiotics, they get a form of fatigue, body stiffness, low mood, which shows that the bacteria inside their cells, known as the mitochondria, single-cell bacteria, have actually been affected by the antibiotics, especially when you're using broad spectrum. Very, very dangerous, right? Because they cause a massive blowback from taking antibiotics. So what I would like you to look at is having to rebuild those mitochondria over a period of 3 to 4 months. That's when the cells are going to turn over. And then a period of 3 to 4 months after that, a period of 3 to 4 months after that, you just continue to start feeling better and better and better. So there's so much to do, right? So what I would say is, if possible, I would run an organic acids test and I would run a hair tissue mineral analysis. That's called our starter kit. It's going to let us know if there's any overgrowth in terms of candida, but really it's going to let us know if you're deficient in certain vitamins and if it's deficient in certain minerals with that hair tissue mineral analysis. So, of course, I always recommend the Dr. Well Big 5, but I try to give individual recommendations whenever possible. And in your case, I'm recommending the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis. When you run them together, you actually get $100 off as part of like a combo package called the starter kit. Okay, little sip of water, and we are on to Tanya Lewington. And Tanya's writing in, "Hi, Dr. Ball. Find your podcast through Melissa Ambrosini podcast. Has been the best thing ever. I could listen to you all day. Actually, that is what I'm trying to do, get through all of your past podcasts." Thank you, Tanya. And honestly, if people can go back and listen to the previous podcasts, I would love for you to do that. And here's why, is that this is what I'm trying to provide as a functional medicine education. But not just functional medicine. It's orthomolecular, bioregulatory, Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine. It's a truly integrative podcast is what I try to have it be, to teach people, listen, you don't need to go back to school for all of this. A half hour a day, just let it accumulate, let it start to build up, try to share it with others. I believe it's enough. I really do. I just don't. I think that this is the best way to learn, is then start to implement. So if you can eventually save up, you can run a lab test, then you can figure out things that go on internally with your health, and then you can start to do the right foods or nutritional supplements or whatever you need to then build up your health. And then after that, you can start to feel great. You can start to do the next thing, then you can share it with others. And next thing you know, you're just teaching it, right? Like that honestly is the goal, because we're a planet of almost 8 billion people or so, right? Right around there. And our goal is just to be able to teach this, because they're not going to teach it to you anywhere else. I mean, you're certainly not going to get it taught in schools, and unless you're going to become a naturopathic doctor or you're going to a school that's teaching these types of things, it's just not out there. And even with naturopathic medicine schools right now, I mentor a lot of students at great schools, beautiful schools such as Best Air and Southwest and Bridgeport, and they're not getting the integrative approach. They're getting a really nice functional medicine approach. They're learning a lot of the labs, and they're learning about a lot of the different vitamins, but they're not going in depth on any of the Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, and they're not getting like a broad scope. It's not conventional medicine, but it's in that same like breath, meaning like, oh, well, we're going to use this for this type of dis-ease of the body. But that's not the best way to look at it. We still want to look at the underlying root causes. We want to look at those conditions that might be causing the low progesterone instead of us just supplementing with progesterone, right? So anyway, that's what I hope that this does. And thank you, Tanya, for that, for letting me go on that little aside there. I have a question about marine collagen. Here in Australia, it's big at the moment. What are your thoughts on taking it daily as suggested? My thoughts for taking this for bone joints support, as I have scoliosis, deterioration between the joints. This past year has become worse. I don't have dairy other than the occasional cheese. I take D3, recommended by my doctor after blood tests. I've started adding vitamin K with 4 and 7 in it. I also have a very dry scalp, mainly around the hairline. I'm 48, never suffered in the past. Is it okay for the first day of washing, but the next day it starts to flake? What are your thoughts and suggestions? Keep up the fantastic work. Thank you. Are forever educating us on health and well-being from your heart. Okay, great question, Sonia. This is what I am recommending. I don't have an issue particularly with marine collagen. I don't. It's just not my go-to. And so I just want you to know that. And it looks like you are kind of picking out like your favorite supplements. And what I want to just talk about that as well is that I believe that everyone needs a foundational program first. I did a podcast on this called like the different tiers of supplements, right? And unless you're doing a full spectrum, like a broad, like a functional medicine multivitamin or our daily nutritional support, and then using something like the daily fruit and vegetable blend, which is all of the whole food, 22 organic fruits and vegetables, and then using like a daily probiotic support. And then after that, you say, okay, I could do one more. Well, maybe then the omega-3 support. Then you can start to do other things. But, so vitamin D for sure. For vitamin D for sure, most people are going to need to use all year round, even in the summer, because they're not getting enough sun in the summer either if they're not maintaining a tan or they're not getting their labs tested. But when you use a full spectrum, like an activated multivitamin or the daily nutritional support powder, you're already getting the vitamin K in it. You can take the extra D. Now, in terms of collagen, yes, if you're already doing the foundation-based protocol, remember, your skin, your body, your discs, everything, your hair needs more than just collagen. Like if you're not getting the vitamin C, the zinc, the copper, all of those, that the collagen is not going to do as much. That's just not the building block that you need before all of your lower level foundational-based building blocks. So yes, use the collagen. The product that we recommend is called Advanced Collagen Support. We never talk about it. It's one of our best-selling products. I never talk about it because I'm just not like a marketer in that way. But Advanced Collagen Support, there's not a better product out there right now, I can tell you that. And the reason why there's not a better product, this uses 3 patented delivery systems. Now, you know how I feel about patents in general, but this is able to be used by anyone. So this is not like a patent pharmaceutical, and it's a delivery system. Why do I like our Advanced Collagen Support, which is formulated by Equilibrium Nutrition? By the way, you can just go to equilibriumnutrition.com and just search any of these labs or any of these products. Well, the reason why I like our Advanced Collagen Support, and it took me forever to come up with a product like that, is that we use 1/3 of the animal-based products of other collagen products. 33%, 66% less. That's great because I want to use less animal products. That's just a goal of mine. And there's less waste in general that is caused by the planet when we have more and more animals that are being basically on farms. And the delivery system allows us to use less and get more benefit. This is clinically proven. It's literally, you can just go to the page and see if it's right for you. It's called Advanced Collagen Support. And what it does is it allows you to get more of the benefits with less of the protein and less of the animal-based product. So that is what I'm recommending. In terms of the dry scalp, I'm absolutely recommending the organic acids test just to look for any yeast-based issues. It could be lower thyroid or hypothyroidism. It could be a lot of different things. It could be lower levels of zinc, minerals. So, of course, the Dr. Ball Big 5 is my go-to. But for you, if I have to give you an order, it's organic acids test. Then it is hair tissue mineral analysis, thyroid adrenal hormone, omega-3, in that order. That's how I would do it. Okay, Alice is up next, and this will be our last question. I am extremely allergic to ascorbic acid. My tongue swells and upsets my stomach. Will any of your cleanses be okay for me? Okay, it sounds like if you've used ascorbic acid in the past, you may have used one derived from corn, and you could actually have a corn-based sensitivity or something to do with the solvents. Or you just have an issue with the acidity of ascorbic acid. So there's a couple things that we can talk about. The Dr. Ball Detox is not high in ascorbic acid. We have some vitamin C in the product. Although it's blended with so many other things, it should not be an issue for you. Even if you wanted to just try the Daily Nutritional Support Shake, you could try that first. If it didn't work for you, then you're welcome to return it. We just give people that. Like, listen, we're here to help you. We're not here to try to sell you anything. that is not going to give you the greatest benefit. So you just can always take me up on that. I'm happy to do that for you. And if it's the acidity, well, we have one called alkalizing vitamin C. Now, it contains ascorbic acid, but it's buffered, which means it's buffered with minerals and bicarbs that will buffer the acidity. So I just don't know what your allergy is, because having an allergy to ascorbic acid is very rare. If I've never heard of it, so that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Alice, I believe you for sure, but I'm just wondering: is it ascorbic acid, or is it the solvent used in very cheap ascorbic acids that you might find in the store? Is it the citric acid they sometimes mix with it? Is it a solvent? Is it just the acidity as well that causes that? And maybe the buffered, so the alkalizing vitamin C would work. So I'm just hoping that that's an answer that may help you, as long as it's not anaphylactic, meaning like it's not going to cause you any serious harm, because obviously I could never and don't want to make any recommendations like that. But if it's uncomfortable, I get it, totally understand. But that would at least allow you to try the daily nutritional support powder. And if that works, you could do the Dr. Ball detox. Again, you'll have to test it. I can't give you medical advice. I'm not diagnosing, treating, or curing disease here over the podcast. And the other thing is, as well, you could try the alkalizing vitamin C. Again, you're welcome to see if they work for you. So hopefully that helps. Again, not everything has ascorbic acid in it. Just want you to know that. But when you look at a lot of protocols, vitamin C is extremely important for hundreds and hundreds of processes within the body. So that is it for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a great weekend of Cabral House Calls. I am finishing up all of my travel. I am now back in Boston for a full month. I'm excited to be back in Boston. I'm excited not to be on planes, trains, and automobiles. Although I do love travel. I don't love the travel. I love getting to speak with people, and I love being able to share that on video and other people's podcasts. And so I'm obviously very grateful for that. Grateful for all of you tuning in. And as always, if any of these shows were helpful, please do feel free to pass them along to anyone else you believe they could serve. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for our Motivation and Mindset Monday.
Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.